Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex on the South Side. Bob Pompiani, soon to be joined by Missy Matthews. Thank you for joining us here on KDK Plus and all the Steeler digital platforms. As the Steelers, coming off a win in Atlanta, look to make it 2 in a row on the road. It's a trip to Denver, but Mike Tomlin certainly has a lot of issues to discuss at his press conference. He'll be coming up here shortly. Number one, finding a replacement for Cameron Johnston, who was injured last week. It looks like his season is over. I'm sure we'll have all details on that. Such a terrible injury, given how important he is to this team when it comes to field position. Also, talking about the quarterback situation. Justin Fields played well last week, managed the game well, did what he had to do to win. Hard to win a game without scoring an offensive touchdown, but the Steelers relied on their defense and Chris Boswell, who had 3 50-yarders, part of his 6-for-6 field goal day. So special teams was certainly doing its job. And the Steelers did a great job against Kirk Cousins. Different challenge this week. Not a veteran quarterback, a rookie coming off kind of a shaky first appearance against Seattle. And Denver lost that game 26-20. But anytime you go out to Denver, it's always a tough assignment. It's a young football team out there. And Bo Nix is going to be challenged by a defense that last week did not feel the need to really blitz a lot. They relied on pressure up front with their front four. This week, who knows what they're going to do, but I would imagine that Bo Nix is going to be looking at a very difficult assignment in the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, which really was a great defense last week, pressure rate-wise, getting to the quarterback, forcing Kirk Cousins, who really didn't want to move around too much given the fact he's coming off that surgery to the Achilles, and the Steelers took full advantage of that, turning it into a turnover game, which they won 3-0. And when the Steelers win that game, they normally win just about every game they play. It's a big component of how they play, especially on the road. So this week, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some of the terrific performances in that game from last week against the Falcons. I thought Najee Harris very motivated in the run game. The numbers didn't necessarily bear that out, but he was running with a lot of passion in that game. A young offensive line for the Steelers got tested right off the bat with a veteran Atlanta defense, and I thought Zach Frazier handled it very well. So did Spencer Anderson playing in the left guard position. So those guys graded out well. They're going to have to do it again against a young Denver team, and Sean Payton has changed a lot of people out there. One guy who's back and signed a new contract was Patrick Surtain. So whoever the quarterback is for the Steelers this week, you got to watch that guy because he is used to making plays in big-time situations. The Steelers win that game last week. Everyone else in the AFC North lost last week, so it's only one game. But we've talked a lot about the Steelers starting fast in this season, knowing that their schedule gets more difficult, especially later in the year when all these head-to-head division games take place, including the game against Philadelphia and the Christmas Day game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Steelers go into this one looking for, I would imagine, the same kind of formula. Don't make mistakes on the road. Make sure the defense does what it has to do, but of course the offense has to make bigger plays. We saw Justin Fields go down the field plenty with George Pickens as his intended receiver, and boy, Pickens had a big day. Could have been bigger if not for the offensive pass interference, which was called, and that was a really kind of a questionable call. But the referees are looking to call that, it seems, a lot. And when there is contact, sometimes you win those, sometimes you lose those. But Pickens is going to be a big part of what the Steelers do moving forward. Then the question is, who steps up in the wide receiver room? Last week, aside from Pickens, wide receivers only caught 3 passes combined, and that was pretty much it. They're going to have to get more of that involved, and I'm sure Arthur Smith will engage those guys more as they go along. We saw a lot of 3 tight end formations, and when Arthur Smith was hired here as offensive coordinator, you knew that they were going to use the tight end. And Pat Freiermuth has a new contract, and hopefully he will get a lot more opportunities as well. Mike Tomlin is ready to go with the press conference. Let's send it over to Coach T.
Good afternoon. As always, I'll start with a quick review of our last performance. As I said after the game, man, it's just really gratifying to go on the road in week 1 and secure victory. You have the natural things that come with week 1. All teams deal with that, the unknown, the 60 minutes of football from a conditioning perspective, the attempt to make routine plays routinely when we know in week 1 sometimes it can be anything but routine. Couple that with, quarterback instability that popped up during the week, man. I just thought our guys handled a lot of the circumstances very well, and to secure victory under those circumstances, I think it's just it's not only the necessary win of the week, but there's growth in that. There's individual and collective growth in dealing with variables and challenges in this journey and overcoming them. And so it's good to get some of that done. I thought specifically about the game. I just like the energy and enthusiasm of the guys. In week one, you worry about that football conditioning component. Will guys play with great energy and finish throughout? I thought in all three phases our guys did that. They played hard. They played together. I thought we complemented one another in a lot of ways. You can't say enough about Boz's kicking, obviously. But I thought the offensive sequence there before the half was significant in terms of answering that score and putting up a field goal before the half and bringing us to within 1 point of those guys. I thought the defense stood up a lot in the game. The turnovers I thought were big. The plays down the stretch. I just thought as the game wore on, too, our defensive front, our Russians in particular, really controlled the game. What can you say about T.J. Watt that hadn't been said in terms of his quality of play? We expect it, but we appreciate it. And so, man, we got a lot of good things done. There were some things that obviously need to be improved. Low-hanging fruit is the penalties. I thought penalties were catastrophic to our efforts, man. We had some big plays and field-flipping scenarios negated by penalty. And so we got to grow there. And we'll put our focus appropriately there and improving in those areas. And it happened in a variety of ways. We had penalties in the kicking game, in the return game, blocking people in the back. As I told the team yesterday, you got no chance for splash in the kicking game with penalties. And so it starts there for us. Before we can talk about the exploits of guys like Calvin Austin or CP or Jalen, man, it starts with us being good fundamental blockers and positioning ourselves to get and maintain blocks in a legal way. The field position component of that is catastrophic, and we felt the result of that in game. We had some pre-snap penalties offensively and defensively that we need to continually clean up. Those procedural things is kind of reflective at times of September ball, but at the same time you acknowledge that it's JV. If we're going to be the type of team we need to be, man, we can't lose downs pre-snap on either side of the ball. And so there was some of that in play, and it needs to be addressed. And then obviously on the defensive side of the ball, man, I thought we warmed up to it initially. That opening drive with Bijan and company, I thought they controlled it. And so we got to start fast. We're not afforded an opportunity to warm up to it from time to time. And I thought the same could be said offensively. We had a fumbled CQ exchange on the first snap of the game. We missed some opportunities there early. I thought we were warming up to it. And we just got to be ready to play 60 minutes. We got to burst open the locker room doors and go to it. I just think that's reflective of the mentality and the readiness you got to display in this league. From an injury perspective, Cam Johnston obviously has a major knee injury. I would imagine he has a surgery scheduled here in the upcoming days, and so he's lost for the year, man. I'm really disappointed for him. This guy's been spectacular for us. He's punted the ball extremely well in the short period of time he's been here. But as impressive as his punting is his professionalism and approach to business. He's an awesome teammate. He's a hard worker. He quickly earned the respect of the guys because of that. And so our heart aches for him, but we acknowledge it's part of our game, just like challenges are a part of life. They'll create an opportunity for us to do business with Corliss again. And we're familiar with Corliss, excited about him. He was on our expanded practice squad, I think, in 21 during those COVID years, and really had an opportunity to develop while here. He developed his holding while here. He didn't have a lot of holding experience in college, and so, Boz and company were a component of his growth and development in that area. He left here in 22. He was a punter in Denver, and so specifically as it pertains to this weekend, he's really familiar with the environment that we're going into. And so those are some of the reasons why we're really excited about Corliss and bringing him into the fold. Darius Rush is in the concussion protocol. I don't know what stage of the protocol he's in, but there's a level of anticipation in terms of him getting out of it. We'll take it day by day. Dan Moore had an ankle that swelled up on him yesterday that may limit him at the early portions of the week. We'll see where that leads us. Expect an uptick in the participation of guys like Roman Wilson, who's working his way back to us, was a partial participant at times, and so forth, man. We're excited about getting him in the fold and seeing him maybe take a step. We'll see where Isaac is tomorrow as we go through the week and measure his participation, if any, and let that be our guide in terms of his inclusion. And the same really for Russ. I just visited with him. He feels better today than he did over the weekend, and so what that means, I don't know as we sit here today. I know that we're going to take the same approach that we take with a lot of people in terms of injury. We'll first start with his participation and his level of participation, his quality of participation. Over the course of the week, we'll be analyzing whether he's capable of protecting himself, whether he's capable of being productive. When we get to those points, that's when we'll ponder his inclusion or not. And when that happens will probably be a component of that equation. But as I sit here today, we're preparing as if Justin is going to be our quarterback. I think that's the appropriate way to do it. Speculation is a waste of time. Russell's hurt. He's not available to us. And so, as you guys know, as a general practice, man, I focus my energy on those that are available and their readiness. Just saw Justin. He just finished a good workout here today and excited about maybe going through a complete week with him in terms of the preparation process. But again, we'll take it day by day. Russ is not scheduled to work in totality tomorrow. To what degree, I do not know. And then we'll play it by ear from there based on the results and the things that we see in terms of whether or not we consider him and to what degree we consider him. Now on to Denver. The first thing that I think about when I think about going to Denver is the environment, particularly at this portion of the season. It is a hostile and challenging environment in a lot of ways, from a crowd noise perspective, from a conditioning perspective. And so, we can't run from that. We got to run to that. We need to prepare with those things in mind this week to get ourselves in the very best position to perform from a conditioning perspective, to work with crowd noise, particularly on offense and in those weighty moments. We did similar things last week in terms of preparation for Atlanta. And so it's helpful to us to have that experience under our belt this week as we prepare with those things in mind. If you look at some of the things that they're going to do on offense, it starts first and foremost, man, with Coach Payton and how he draws up the schemes to highlight the strengths of his people. I see it, and I see it very clearly, man. He did some really awesome things in terms of bringing the game to his young signal caller last week. He threw a lot of passes, but he threw a lot of quick passes. He threw some misdirection passes. He changed the launch point. He threw some RPO passes that included bubble screens to put him in good run-pass scenarios, things that Bo is familiar with that you saw him do on college tape at multiple locations. Thought he did a really good job of incorporating the screen game as well, staying on schedule. Got a nice division of labor with his backs. Williams is a downhill guy. 3-8 is a really good perimeter guy. Utilization of personnel. He got a couple fullbacks and H-back-like people that they utilize, multiple tight ends, complementary receivers. Obviously, this is not Coach Payton's first rodeo. He'll do a really good job of working to keep us off balance, changing the pace of action, making us look at different things formationally and structurally. He does a good job of hiding offensive concepts within some of those pre-snap shifts and motions, particularly in situational moments. He doesn't give you a lot of time to digest what it is you're looking at. He builds the formation structure and then the ball snaps. And so it's really challenging from a communication and ball readiness perspective. We got to prepare with an edge on defense under those scenarios. And again, as I mentioned, just really familiarizing myself with Bo and somewhat surprised by his level of quarterback mobility and its impact on the game. I thought he was highly effective by design or by ad lib last week. He scored a touchdown late in that game with his legs. He extended some plays and made some plays. Again, as I said, they changed the launch point some with some misdirection passing that's challenging. We didn't have to deal with a whole bunch of launch point changes and quarterback mobility last week, and so this is a new challenge for us in terms of the regular season this year, and so we better respect that and prep to position ourselves to play. And then when you look at them on the defensive side of the ball, they got another veteran architect in Vance Joseph, man. He's aggressive schematically. He does an awesome job of changing up personnel, specifically the situations. He plays some nickel 4-2, some nickel 5-1, some dime 41, given circumstances. He's multiple with his fronts. He gives you some awesome blitz structure on possession downs with the backers walked up. He's got a full complement or menu out of those structures. He's got some real good players, man, that he calls upon, man. They got a nice outside linebacker edge group. Cooper and company, man, Browning. Those guys are Benito. Those guys are talented. They're a young group. They play them all. I think all four guys in the outside or edge category played over 20 snaps last week. And that makes them difficult to deal with. There's multiple people. They're fresh. They're different skill sets and so forth. And so that's challenging. In the secondary, they turned the safety position over, but they have Pat Surtain back. And to be quite honest with you, man, he's as good as there is in the game. His pedigree is extremely high, as are his fundamentals. He's technically as sound as they come. I was at his pro day, man. He was just as impressive and as game ready as any corner that I can remember in recent years, and his tape is kind of reflective of that. And their newly renewed commitment to him in terms of long-term business is kind of reflective of that. They'll do a nice job of changing things up. They'll play to their environment. We better stay on schedule. If we get behind the chains in that environment versus a guy like Vance, it's going to be some challenges for us. And so we better do whatever's required to do that, to stay on schedule, to keep ourselves in manageable possession down circumstances. I thought that was key to possessing the ball for us last week. We stayed in manageable third down circumstances, a lot of short yardage ones, and you're going to win your share of those. And so that was helpful to the outcome of last week's game as well, and I failed to mention that earlier. Manageable third downs being a catalyst for winning those downs, and then thus possessing the ball. That's enough for me. I'll pause and then open it up to the floor for questions.
Mike, you said that Russ wouldn't practice tomorrow. I think you said, do you expect him or think he might be able to restart on Thursday?
I don't know. I know we got a battery of some movement work for him scheduled for tomorrow, and then as is our usual practice, we'll meet with docs after tomorrow's practice, and we'll probably have some more clarity then about what the rest of the week looks like.
If he's healthy, will he start on Sunday?
That's a big if. I'm not into the hypotheticals. As I mentioned right now, he's not healthy, and so my time and attention is focusing on the readiness of Justin.
Justin, to show you exactly, obviously a rough start with the CQ exchanges, but seemed to kind of settle in as the game progressed. What did you see from him?
I thought it was just that. I thought he settled in as the game progressed. I thought he had clear eyes in weighty moments. I thought he was a good communicator in some of those moments where we had some discussions. We had a big third down play late in the game, 3rd and 7. We had a timeout. We came to the sideline. We talked about leaving the ball in his hands. We bounced around some suggestions. He was a major component of that discussion. We went out. We left the ball in his hands. We had a design quarterback run. He moved the chains in those circumstances. There was a lot of good. It's just good to be in the stadium with a guy. You're speculating until you are, and I just know a heck of a lot more about him because of that experience. And I'm sure he knows more about himself in this environment and us, and so it's just really good things to build upon.
Were you able to get, how much contribution were you able to get from Russell Wilson while he was on the sideline in Atlanta? What did he kind of add and help Justin with throughout the game?
Justin's probably better positioned to talk about some of those things. I'm managing the game and the people on the field, and some of those sideline discussions and so forth happen among others.
How much of an asset can he be in Denver, even if he's on the sideline knowing that he has experience with this team?
Sometimes that's overblown, okay? If he's on the sideline, he's not making plays. The guys on the field are the guys that got to make the plays, and that's generally our mentality. We're not resistant to help, but we're not going to put it on a pedestal and make it appear to be more than what it is.
Justin mentioned that Russ was the one who told him he was going to get the start. Was that something Russ wanted to do, or you wanted to have him do?
I'm not overly concerned about all that little cute minutia, to be quite honest with you, as long as the information gets passed and we ready ourselves for the work.
Mike, the third down play you were referencing, was that on the final series?
Yes.
About 2 minutes or so?
Yes.
Mike, from a play calling perspective, what did you think about the balance between shorter, more convertible type throws, and then also picking your spots when to go deep?
We were thoughtfully non-rhythmic in that area, and those were our intentions. And we need to continue to do so in an effort to stay a step ahead of the posse, if you will. Rhythm passing quells blitzing and rush, and obviously field flipping plays minimizes execution. I learned a long time ago, man, a 50-yard touchdown eliminates a lot of execution. And so we're going to aggressively pursue that as well. And I think you can do both. And that's why I described it the way that I did. We're thoughtfully non-rhythmic in those areas.
Getting to know Justin and how he runs when he decides to run. Are you finding that he's prudent when it comes to getting out of bounds, when to slide? How is he in that regard versus some other running quarterbacks you've seen?
I have no issue with how he managed that component of it Sunday in Atlanta. But it's a small sample size, and I just think that that's always something that's going to have my attention, because the quarterback's health is usually centered around that judgment, and possession of the ball is usually centered around that judgment. And so we'll keep progressing.
Mike, what did you learn about your new defensive additions like Deshaun Elliott and Dante Jackson once you got in the stadium with them?
Their veteran presence was evident. They're new to us, but they're not new to the NFL. And so I love their game day demeanor. They were communicative. They played with great energy. They were helpful to each other and others. And that's just stuff that you get from veteran players. New to us, but not new to the game. They weren't wide-eyed, and I didn't expect them to be. That's one of the reasons why we're really excited about acquiring those men that you mentioned.
When Troy Fautanu was injured, he was in the process of competing for a starting job. Now he's back, but the season has started. How difficult is it to continue that process?
It's more difficult, but we have a commitment to continuing it because we like what we saw from him during team development. He's deserving of that. His talents are deserving of that. And so, we'll balance that the best we can.
Is he back to being full, ready to go, no restriction?
I don't know what that means, but he's practicing.
Mike, what was the thinking behind bringing back Terrell Evans?
He's a guy that knows us, a guy that we know. And during the course of this thing, particularly at this stage of the journey, you can't have enough of those scenarios. Might not be a significant need right now, but it might be a different scenario a few weeks from now. And that's really in the same spirit that we did business with Cam Sutton, if you will. When we got guys that we know fit, that understand this environment, that we know are capable of helping us, and we have an opportunity to do business, whether there's a tremendous need or not, we have an interest.
Mike, what can you say about your tight end room's versatility and what you guys were able to ask of them and how they delivered, particularly in the different ways they block in the run?
I was pleased with that collective. I've been pleased with that collective during team development. It is a diverse group, as you mentioned. We do a nice job of managing that group and highlighting what it is they do well, while at the same time not becoming so compartmental that we're predictable. And that's something to balance as well. But I just think the coaches and the players alike all manage that very well. And I just think the versatilities of the players make that a realistic discussion.
How would you evaluate Arthur Smith's first official game with the Steelers?
1-0.
Mike, in that first quarter, when everybody thought it was fourth down, but it turned out to be a first down, and you sent the plane, did you know at that time that they might change that to a first down?
I knew it was first down. I wasn't aware that the sticks were saying fourth down because we have good communication with the officiating crew in game. And so I knew it was an earned first down. I didn't realize that the sticks were showing fourth down until after the down, and I saw the reaction, felt the reaction from the crowd and so forth. We were operating under the premise that that was first down.
Peyton Wilson played about half the snaps. What did you see?
Who? I'm sorry?
Peyton Wilson.
Yeah.
What did you see from him, and how have you seen him continue to grow?
You know, I thought it wasn't too big for him, which is a good start for a young guy. We divvied up the labor between him and the Landon Roberts to best fit their skill set as it pertained to that game. It might be different this week, to be quite honest with you. It's a specialization game at this point in the NFL, particularly at the linebacker spot. He has a nice skill set. He can run and cover. Obviously, you know what Landon brings, man. He's a tooth chipper and always has been in the run game. And so we got some guys that can help us there. We'll continue to work that balance. But just in general, like what I saw from Peyton in terms of production and demeanor.
Back to Joe's question, the play on the first down, were you guys rushing to try to get the play off because the play was close before that? Where I think George got the first down and it was a close spot. Was there a sense of urgency to get that play off?
I don't know that there was a sense of urgency. The officials communicated with us that it was a first down, and so we moved on. It wasn't like we were trying to beat a challenge flag or something of that nature. We weren't in that mentality, no.
Is Jalen Warren fully healthy?
Again, that's a slippery slope in the football world. He's healthy enough, certainly.
Have you learned anything or taken anything away about preparing for the altitude in Denver after a half a dozen trips there?
Nothing earth-shattering, to be quite honest with you. Nothing that anybody else that goes there doesn't attempt to do, or a stone that everyone else in our business turns over. So nothing new or groundbreaking, no.
Mike, there were a couple instances where you had 3 outside linebackers on the field at the same time. What benefits do you have with that package?
It's just a one-dimensional passing moment where size in the front is less relevant, and so getting some quality rushers on the field.
Like, I think you guys ran the second most read option plays in the first week of the NFL season. What does Justin Fields add, even just when he has to force the opponent to honor his ability to run the ball?
To be quite honest with you, we didn't run that many read option plays. They might have appeared to be read option plays because of the follow-through. That's why I laugh at some of those next-gen stats and things of that nature sometimes. Sometimes it's just a quarterback following through with a play fake after handing the ball off.
Mike, what did you see from Cam in his first game? And it looked like he was out on third downs. He's mainly 1 and 2. Is that right?
Who's that?
Cam.
Yeah, as he mentioned, you know, we're playing some outside linebackers in one-dimensional moments, and so if you put someone on the field, you take someone off. But I like what he brought. He played about 35 snaps, and that's moving in the direction of participation that we're comfortable with for the totality of this thing. But it was business as usual for Cam.
How do you evaluate the play of your offensive line, especially, you know, Spencer having to go in and make his first start?
I'm appreciative of the efforts and demeanor of a guy like Spencer, of a guy like Zach Frazier, who were in regular season stadiums in starting capacities for the first time. It was definitely a lot of positive things to build from. I like their attitude, their demeanor, and their finish. We'll keep working on the fine details.
Mike, as you might be aware, your quarterback position is a little bit of a national topic. So when healthy, is Russell still your QB1?
Again, I'm not going to soothe you with hypothetical scenarios. It is my general practice to not. You guys that know me know I do not. So why start today because it's the quarterback position or because it's a national story? I am unmoved by some of those narratives, to be quite honest with you. We got an approach to business. I always stand in front of you guys when people are somewhat limited. I say we'll push through our work week. We'll let their participation be our guide in terms of whether we include them and then the quality of that participation. This scenario is no different for me, respectfully. I understand that you have to ask that question, but it doesn't mean that we need to change our position or do things that are abnormal in the effort to answer it. We're just simply going to proceed with what we normally do. Our energies and attention are on those that are available and are scheduled to play. They are deserving of that. When those that are not are healthy, we'll ponder it at that time.
Mike, is it still your policy that players have to practice fully on Friday to participate in?
That has never been my policy. Young players have to practice on Friday. The older you are, the less significant that is. I treat everybody fair. I don't treat everybody the same.
Anyone else?
How did Scotty Wilson end up being the emergency holder? I guess he only had a couple days.
Scotty Miller?
Scotty Miller.
Oh, I did a straw poll, man. I asked, did anybody hold in high school? And Scotty said, yes, I held in high school, but this was Thursday. And he got a little bit after practice, man. You know, flexibility is awesome. It's an asset to you. It's an asset to us. He has that in his wheelhouse. He put it on display on Thursday, and he went out and put it on display on Sunday. It's a pretty cool thing, man. But you get a lot of that around a professional football team, man. These are multi-talented guys. You'll be surprised. That's why I routinely ask, do you have any hidden tricks that I need to know about, particularly when I acquire a new guy? You know, I need to know all I can get about unique talents. And obviously, that was helpful to us, man, his contributions in that area.
Mike, while you guys didn't cross the end zone, you guys do rank fourth in time of possession. How much does that play into the identity that you guys want to play to keep your defense fresh for guys like TJ Watson that you played?
We just want to control the game. And so whatever that entails, we're not cutting it too fine at this juncture. You are what you become. You are what you emphasize, certainly. But it's just early stages, man. We're just trying to put together winning formulas at this point and get out of the gate with necessary wins, particularly because we've been in hostile environments and the challenges that's associated with that in week 1 and week 2.
Mike Hayward said after the game that Ogunjobi was an unsung hero. What is a healthy Ogunjobi? How does that impact what you can do defensively?
You know, he's got a chance to be big-time disruptive, and he displayed some of that. And so I'm excited about watching that continue. He and I have had a lot of discussions, man. This has been an awesome offseason for him. He was healthy all offseason. He went into training camp and team development healthy. It allowed him to participate fully in the process, and really it's the first time he's been able to do that since he's been here. And so it's reasonable to expect the play to reflect that. I know he's excited about that component of it. And so I don't think any of us are surprised that he was a positive asset to us. And as a matter of fact, I can't wait to watch it continue because he's teed up for it.
How do you think Joey Porter did in his matchup against London? And he talked about the size matchup, the physical matchup, how that might have played in his game, like playing someone of like size, basically. And how does that translate to a Denver team that has lots of size at the wide receiver position?
You know, he did the job. He knows the job description. He wants the job description. He wants the assignment of matching up with people week in and week out. Got a lot of respect for Drake London and his talents and the way that they utilize him schematically. I thought Joey did an awesome job. But it's week to week in this business, and particularly at the cornerback position, because I'm sure there's a gentleman named Cortland Sutton that's waiting on him in Denver, for example. And that's the battle of playing corner in this league. But, again, he loves it, and I'm glad that he does.
I just think Vinny Bishop handled his talent in the first game.
I thought it was a great start for him. I thought the things that attracted us to him were on display. He played hard. He tackled well. He had a couple of possession down, stop tackles. I think he had a tackle on special teams. Really good start for an undrafted rookie, certainly.
Anyone else? All right.
Thanks.
All right, there's head coach Mike Tomlin. We welcome in Missy Matthews, and a lot of questions about the quarterback, which is natural because it is the position that everybody focuses in on, but no clarity about who will start other than Russell Wilson's going to have to, get involved as the week goes on if there is a chance for him to go.
Yeah, he didn't completely rule him out, but said as he sits here today, they're going to prepare with Justin Fields as their quarterback. I think not only because it's Russell Wilson, this game is in Denver, so it could be that revenge game that a lot of people were hoping for, but it sounds like he won't even be a full participant in practice tomorrow, so we'll have to see how the rest of the week goes.
A lot to unpack there, including injuries, what may happen with some of the guys who banged up. We know about the punting situation. We'll talk about that and more as we continue here with the Mike Tomlin Press Conference Show. KDK Plus and Steeler Digital platforms. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Our fans are here. Give them something to cheer about to them. And the party is on at Acker's Shore. Oh my, absolutely phenomenal. Interception on the pitch to the goal line. Touchdown confirmed. That's just sensational. I can't even believe that I just saw what I saw. And he's
Man, I'm just really appreciative of the efforts of our guys. It was a fight. Obviously, we weren't perfect, man. There's week one like things, particularly early on in the game. We warmed up to it defensively, man. We dropped a pick or something there early. They converted some third downs and started the game with a field goal, and that's not why we put our defense on the field to start the game. We had some fumbled CQ exchanges on offense. We were shooting ourselves in the foot. Some drives got stopped. You're kicking field goals, man, in a hostile environment versus a good group, man. You're in danger. And so I'm just really appreciative that we're able to get it done. We got things to work on, but it's really good to work on your ills with a W. And so we're going to do that. You start this season, man, on the road, man. It's 32 teams start this thing undefeated. And it's just good to get your first one on the road. Half this league is obviously not going to be winners this week. And to get on the road and get out of the gate with a W is something that I respect, and it's really excited for the guys. From a health standpoint, Cam Johnston appears to have a serious injury. I have an update for you next time we come together. It's a shame for him. This guy has been spectacular, man, through team development. He's an absolute stud, not only in his talents, but his approach to business. And so, my heart goes out to him. Darius Rush is being evaluated for a concussion. I don't know whether it is or isn't, but as the game ended, he was being evaluated in that way. We had some bumps and bruises. Some guys go out, but those guys came back in, D-Jack, Joey Porter. But I'm just really appreciative of how the team supported one another.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
But as I sit here today, we're preparing as if Justin is going to be our quarterback. I think that's the appropriate way to do it. Speculation is a waste of time. Russell's hurt. He's not available to us. And so, as you guys know, as a general practice, man, I focus my energy on those that are available and their readiness. Just saw Justin. He just finished a good workout here today, and excited about maybe going through a complete week with him in terms of the preparation process. But again, we'll take it day by day. Russ is not scheduled to work in totality tomorrow. To what degree, I do not know. And then we'll play it by ear from there based on the results and the things that we see.
Mike Tomlin on the quarterback situation, and Missy, over the years we've seen calf injuries like hamstrings. They can linger, and potentially this is what's holding Russell Wilson back. But at this point, it's Justin Fields, and he will continue to start unless something changes later in the week.
Yeah, and it felt like they were letting Russ continue to get a lot of the reps last week towards the end, splitting with Justin as well to be prepared for whoever was able to go. But when Russ came out early for pregame warmups, there weren't any doctors, there weren't any trainers watching what he was able to do. So that kind of signaled that it was going to end up being Justin. But I think the fact that he feels better after what he was able to do on Sunday during pregame warmups is a good sign. But as coach said, he doesn't like to deal in hypotheticals. And I think with the quarterback position also, he wants the rest of the team to know who the guy is going to be as early as possible. So at this point, as he said today, they're going to prepare as if Justin is the starter.
You saw that play right there, Missy. This is the one element that could help this team when he has the legs to convert a 3rd and long. At this point, I think it was 3rd and 7, and to get a first down when, if you don't have that mobility, chances are you couldn't do it, because I thought the Falcons did a good job, controlling the secondary. They didn't have any open wide receivers, so he just took it upon himself to do what he had to do to move the chains, and he did. And 47% of 3rd down, a lot of that was his immobility.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows that's part of his game and what makes him who he is as a quarterback, and just the connection we saw there with George Pickens throughout the entire game. These guys go all the way back to when they were in high school playing 7-on-7 with each other. But it was good to see also, Najee Harris, the run game. It felt like the offense, after they calmed down a little bit, especially on that first drive. You start with a fumble at the center quarterback exchange, not a good sign, but they were able to inch close to the end zone. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to rely on Chris Boswell to, nail 6 field goals every week and not score touchdowns.
Well, Justin Fields got off to a slow start, as we saw, but he got better as the game went on. And bottom line is he didn't make mistakes. This play right here kind of really was a big one because it took the momentum away from Atlanta. George Pickens lucky he got his foot on the out of bounds because the clock would have expired right there. But they made a big play. It turned out to be 3 big points.
Yeah, and going into the half, knowing you're going to get the ball to start the second half, I think was huge. It didn't work out, but you make it a 1-point game, and you're still trying to climb out of that loss.
Well, Mike Tomlin was asked about Fields specific, his performance in Week 1 against Atlanta as the game went on. This is what he had to say.
I thought he settled in as the game progressed. I thought he had clear eyes in weighty moments. I thought he was a good communicator in some of those moments where we had some discussions. We had a big third down play late in the game, 3rd and 7. We had a timeout. We came to the sideline. We talked about leaving the ball in his hands. We bounced around some suggestions. He was a major component of that discussion. We went out. We left the ball in his hands. We had a design quarterback run. He moved the chains in those circumstances. It was a lot of good. It's just good to be in the stadium with a guy. You're speculating until you are, and I just know a heck of a lot more about him because of that experience.
And it looks like that experience will help him into week number 2 at this point. Again, it looks like Justin Fields will be your starter in Denver. We'll talk more about that, and we'll also get into some other components of this matchup because the Steelers will be facing, Missy, a very young quarterback and how they handle a young quarterback with some legs versus last week in Atlanta. We'll get into that and more as we continue right here on the Mike Tomlin Press Conference Show.
Steelers Style, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store, PNC, UPMC, and UPMC Health Plan. Watch our players, coaches, and special guests walk the runway to raise money for Steelers charities. Get your tickets at Steelers.com/Steelers Style.
What was the communication like with Arthur Smith kind of coming into this game, and what conversations did you have about what plays you preferred or what the game plan would be?
I mean, yeah, we usually just talk on Fridays, and he gets a feel of what concepts I like, what plays I like, and stuff like that. And then we just meet on Saturday again and just go over the same thing, his opening thoughts, what he's thinking. So just that QB OC connection and kind of him knowing what I like, and me knowing why he's calling a certain play. It just makes our offense click more.
With Russ's injury during the preseason, you got a lot of snaps, a lot of preseason game work. Did you look at this as another big opportunity to show the staff, hey, maybe I should be the starter?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not even worried about that. I just came in wanting a win, and I'm glad that we're leaving here with a win. So in terms of who's starting, who's not, all I want to do is win at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'm really not even going to get into all of that, who I want to start, At the end of the day, I came here to win, no matter if I was going to throw for 300 yards, 100 yards, no yards. Like, I came here to win. So that's the only focus I have. Yeah, it's definitely important, having momentum going into week 2 and, just starting off the season right. That was the biggest thing. So, like I said, defense had a hell of a game. They played well, and special teams did too. So, like I said, we want to just put more points on offense, but, just coming out with a win is very important to start the season off right and getting that momentum going into week 2.
Guys, 2 more. We got to get going. 2 more.
What's it do for you when you have a defense like that, TJ Watt, when you know in a tight game, points are hard to come by, they can support you like that and do what they do?
Yeah, I mean, it makes my job easier, knowing that I don't have to force stuff downfield, knowing that, a punt isn't the worst thing in the world. So when you have TJ and D-line like that and, them doing their thing on that side of the ball, it definitely makes the offensive side easier.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor Museum.
Now this is the best era.
I couldn't agree more. Those teams were unstoppable.
The teams were really good in the 90s. Come on, you couldn't catch those teams of the 2000s. Literally.
The 70s were the best.
No way, the 2000s.
Whoa, stop fighting. I think every era was pretty sweet.
You said it, kid. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves.
Wait, you're T?
Threw a lot of passes. but he threw a lot of quick passes. He threw some misdirection passes. He changed the launch point. He threw some RPO passes that included bubble screens to put him in good run pass scenarios, things that Bo is familiar with that you saw him do on college tape at multiple locations. Thought he did a really good job of incorporating the screen game as well, staying on schedule.
But one thing Bo doesn't know, how to go against a tenacious defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to find out. It's a totally different challenge compared to last week, and I think most people thought Kirk Cousins, he didn't play in the preseason. What would he be like? The Steelers defense teed off, knew they can get pressure, and knew he wasn't going to be a threat. A little bit different this week.
Yeah, and some of the stats could have been even better, a la TJ Watt
Yeah.
if things weren't called off. But still, they were making him very uncomfortable, making him want to get rid of the ball quickly. But for the Steelers, in terms of their defense under Coach Tomlin, the team is 24-6 against rookie quarterbacks. It used to be the Dick LeBeau stat, but still lays claim to just what they're able to do in terms of confusing him. And I think, as Coach Tomlin said, the offense continued to settle down and get better. This defense certainly warmed up and kept cooking, especially throughout the second half.
And you saw up front, just the pressure by themselves. You saw Ogunjobi. You saw Montravius Adams get in there with Cam Hayward. They got a lot of guys. Benton will get better as the game goes on. And that allows guys like TJ Watt to do what he did. And you're right, Missy, there were 2 strip sacks that could have been called, would have made him the defensive player of the week. I don't know how people look at that, but they happened. One of them shouldn't have been disallowed, but it wasn't negated. But also Joey Porter Jr., when you put pressure, you make it easier on those guys in the secondary. And he held Drake London, I think, 2 catches, 15 yards. And that's a good receiver.
Yeah, and they had a lot of eligibles, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts had to spend some time trying to stop TJ Watt, so that kind of helped the Steelers as well. But, in terms of just that defensive front that you mentioned, even the inside linebacker group, we saw Patrick Queen finally playing in a regular season game, but Peyton Wilson, what he was able to do as a rookie, I thought was impressive. And Landon Roberts, we have to mention Coach Tomlin with a new Tomlinism, calling him a tooth chipper, in the run game.
That was one of the...
But that made, as soon as he said it, and
Right.
Landon, that makes perfect sense.
Totally does. But let's talk about Bo Nix and what he did last week. He looked a little confused at times. He's a first-year guy playing his first NFL game, high expectations. And there were a lot of, checkdowns, and he was moving quite a bit. Now, the Steelers, that's a different assignment. They want to probably keep him in contain. How much do you blitz a guy like that, do you think? Because he hasn't seen that, and it would certainly make his mind think a little bit about where he's going to throw the ball if he does.
Well, I think you have to, try several things until you figure out what really gets him. But, also not to mention, he played in Seattle.
Yes.
I was there for the first time last season, can attest to everything you hear about it and just how crazy it was. So a very hostile environment to start for them. They get to go back home here for week 2. But I think the Steelers defense, just with the different moving parts that we have seen, just how fast they are. That's all that those players have talked about throughout this offseason and training camp, is the speed on defense now and how they're able to get after guys.
Well, you see Nick scrambling there a little bit, and he does have that ability. He's also a guy who's been in college for a long time. As Coach Tomlin said, he's had basically 2 careers, Auburn and Oregon, and that experience should be able to help him in this situation, although the Steeler defense is playing at very high level right now. We'll continue right here at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex on the South Side. It is a Tomlin Tuesday, and this is the Mike Tomlin Press Conference Show.
Our fans are here. Give them something to cheer about today. And the party is on at Acrisure. Oh my, absolutely phenomenal. Interception on the pitch to the goal line. Touchdown Pittsburgh. That's just sensational. I can't even believe that I just saw what I saw. And he's sacked by TJ Watt. You have to be here.
You seem to relish the moment of coming in and doing your particular thing. So how do you do that game after game, year after year? Is this just something, a form of you might have?
I don't know. I think the first, like I was just talking to Herbig out there, I think the first quarter or 2 quarters, at least for me personally, was a little bit like knocking the rust off, not being able to play in the preseason, and then you kind of really warm up to the moment, you warm up to the game, and when you get an open surface like that, a 2-man surface in a 2-minute drill, I know those don't come often just because there's a lot of chip help usually throughout the game and slides and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to make the most of the opportunities that I know that are pretty good at chances for me to win.
We saw you and other players getting
Yeah. Steeler Nation's incredible, man. It's extremely demoralizing for an offense to be on a silent count at their home field. Steeler Nation is incredible. Honestly, a lot of those plays go to them just because the fumble that I was able to land on was because they had to be on a silent count at their own place. And anytime that happens, when you have a lot of shifts and motions, snaps can go anywhere, balls on the ground, you got to recover them. So Steeler Nation was absolutely incredible, but I'm not surprised.
How important has Deshaun Elliott been to this defense? Kind of an under the radar, maybe off-season acquisition, but he had the first pick today.
He's been a huge asset to us, as is everybody that's came into this offseason. But like I said about Steeler Nation, I'm not surprised about him making plays either, just because I've seen it so much in practice throughout camp.
Overall, it felt like as a group, you guys were around Cousins enough, even when you didn't get sacks, you were around them to kind of disrupt what they were doing. How do you think you did in that regard?
We'll have to watch the tape, but we trust in our guys in the back end to cover, and they trust us to rush the passer.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
From the injury perspective, Cam Johnston obviously has a major knee injury. I would imagine he has a surgery scheduled here in the upcoming days, and so he's lost for the year, man. I'm really disappointed for him. This guy's been spectacular for us. He's punted the ball extremely well in the short period of time he's been here, but as impressive as his punting is his professionalism and approach to business. He's an awesome teammate. He's a hard worker.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest disappointments from this game because they spent 2 years, $6 million on a guy who had a really good year last year, and you can tell that he was going to be important. When we talk about defense, shutting teams down, it often starts with field position, and he was capable of doing that, and now he's going to be out, so they bring in Corliss Waitman, who they do have a history with, Missy.
Yeah, he was with the Steelers during the COVID times, but also did play in a game in Kansas City. That was the day after Christmas, forget what year, I think that was 21 or 22. But then he did go to Denver, and that was another reason why Coach Tomlin said it made sense to bring him in to replace Cameron Johnston. He knows how to kick up there, he knows what it's like, and he's familiar with the Steelers, and it's always important if you can hold for Boz.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, and that's why he was kidding about Scotty Miller, who was trying to do everything.
Yeah.
When you're a jack of all trades, that increases your value, so he's probably doing that. And by the way, he made that punt by Boswell and then a tackle by Miller. That's huge in a game like that. It could have gone just badly.
Catastrophic,
Yeah.
yes.
So we'll see about that. But again, when you're playing at a high level, people often forget about special teams, but if you're playing good defense, it normally starts with good field position, and the Steelers are hoping of doing that. The other injury, which we didn't hear too much about, was Dan Moore. Has an ankle. I don't know if it's going to limit him or not, but Troy Fautano, you've watched him a lot during practice. Do you think he's ready to go, or is he moving in that direction anyway?
Well, he was dressed, so that's a good sign after you deal with some injuries and missed time in the preseason and the end of training camp. But the way Coach Tomlin said that it was an ankle, I think, soreness or something that popped up yesterday for Dan Moore, so definitely something we'll have to monitor. They don't return to the practice fields until tomorrow.
And when we come back, Missy will run down the entire injury list, and there's some other guys who are improving and certainly would be welcome back into this lineup. We'll do that when we continue here on the Mike Tomlin Press Conference on a Tomlin Tuesday.
Steelers Style, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store, PNC, UPMC, and UPMC Health Plan. Watch our players, coaches, and special guests walk the runway to raise money for Steelers charities. Get your tickets at Steelers.com/Steelers Style.
First kicker in Steelers history to go 3 field goals in a game, over 50 yards. Did you think about that at all when it was happening?
No, it's just same mindset I've always had, is next kick. Good, bad, and different. You know, I got to move on to the next one. Just because I made one doesn't mean I'm making the next, so I just got to stay into every single kick.
Did you see anything to Scotty before the last one?
No, I mean, we worked it this week just in case a scenario like this, because you always got to have a backup. And really all I told him is wherever you put it down, just leave it, don't move it, don't touch it. Just I'll figure out how to put it in.
Second, you nervous for the first one?
I definitely had some butterflies. I mean, everything you dreamed about as a kid to go out there for that first snap. Then, of course, with the first snap we fumbled, so we got to get that cleaned up. But yeah.
What did it take to kind of knock that off or brush that off and then kind of just keep playing?
Yeah, for me, I think I'm pretty good at forgetting about plays and moving on and just knowing what I have to fix. If I have a bad snap, I know how to adjust, and I just feel like I can move on from plays.
Do you feel like the offense as a whole settled down as the game went on?
I would say so. I think we weared on them as the game went on. Started to have bigger and bigger runs. I think we kind of wore them out a little bit.
Anything you put your finger on of not being able to execute in the red zone?
Yeah, that was we got to finish. All those field goals, we got to punch some of those in.
You guys were pretty successful on the QB sneak, but then the one late in the game, obviously not. What happened on that from your point of view?
Yeah, that one I just went low. I got to watch the film and see what happened. I went low. I felt like I went under the D lineman, but I feel like a linebacker might have jumped. I don't know. I have to watch the film on it.
How much have you kind of paid attention to and studied how those 4th and 1s work in the NFL and how teams have been successful at those over the years?
Yeah, I think just like being a center, the QB sneak's a big play for a center, so it's something that we have to be good at. I feel like we have to be 100% at that, so we'll take that personal and get it fixed.
Hi folks, welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor Museum.
Now this is the best era.
I couldn't agree more. Those teams were unstoppable.
The teams were really good in the 90s. Come on, you couldn't catch those teams of the 2000s. Literally.
The 70s were the best.
No way, the 2000s.
Whoa, stop fighting. I think every era was pretty sweet.
You said it, kid. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves.
Wait, your T?
All right, welcome back, everyone. As you know, Russell Wilson's still dealing with that calf injury. He sounds like he'll be limited tomorrow in practice. Justin Fields is preparing as the starter. Some other injuries, Dan Moore with an ankle injury. Darius Rush is in the concussion protocol. And Pump, some good news, Roman Wilson and Isaac Seumalo may possibly be able to do a little bit more this week.
Looking forward to both those guys, especially Roman Wilson. How long can Boswell kick in Denver, real quick?
Well, last time in 2018, he had a 41-yarder, and he threw a touchdown to Al Villanueva.
How about that? We're out of time, Missy. Thanks. We'll do it again next Tuesday at noon right here on KDK+.